Hello, everybody, and welcome back to my YouTube channel. It's Zachary Reality, and we're here to talk about Bachelor in Paradise Season 10, Episode 7. This was a big, fun episode. We finally got the Bailey, Jeremy, Susie, Brian confrontation that has been teased for weeks, and we're going to break down tonight's episode. So make sure to give this video a big thumbs up, and don't forget to hit subscribe. Okay, let's get into this. First of all, love that the rules changed. Last week, Bailey, because her and Jeremy won the challenge, Bailey was responsible for sending a couple home, which was Leslie and Gary last week. That was a lot of pressure, and I remember saying in my recap that I wanted voting. We got the voting where everybody now has a say. They put a chip in a box, and they're voting out the man this week who will not be handing out a rose. The only thing that I could change is maybe only the girls should vote. And then the next week, only the guys will vote. Right? That's how they used to do it on Bachelor Pad back in the day. If the guys have the power, the girls vote. If the girls have the power, the guys vote. Instead of like everyone in the house voting, I do understand why all the young people kind of gotten together and decided that one of the Goldens would go. I also think the Goldens are like aware that like that's the vibe and that they're probably next. And everybody collectively decided to vote out Kim and Faith this week. And I think it's mostly because of Kim's like heart troubles. We saw this episode that his heart was being monitored, he was getting tested, he had to have a serious conversation with Faith about it. So I think that it was probably just like a precautionary thing to vote out Kim and Faith. Otherwise, maybe they would have voted out Keith and Kathy because it seems like Keith and Kathy are friend zoned and they've made that clear and they've also been on the show for longer. Faith and Kim were both later arrivals and actually seem to have a connection that could turn out in romance. We see them making out this episode and making out all week. I mean, they're in love, and we hopefully will get a relationship update between the two of them, maybe tomorrow or whenever on a podcast because they both live in Washington. They left the show because they were voted out, not because they weren't in love and they broke up. So maybe, just maybe, Faith and Kim are still together and are dating, but who knows? And I also am definitely interested to know if the vote was rigged. Are producers involved? Was it producers' idea to send Kim home because they don't want him to have any heart issues on their watch and it's safer to get the old man out of Mexico in the heat? I feel like a lot of people were against Brian, and it did seem like he got a lot of votes. So I wish that there was some sort of count to tell. But either way, like, I'm glad Brian and Parisa stayed. Brian's the drama. Brian and Parisa are the drama. Brian is the drama. Like, they couldn't go. The storyline just got started. The confrontation just got started. This whole thing was obviously drawn out, right? Like, Jeremy called Susie episodes ago. Jeremy has made it clear under every single Instagram comment section that he can that this was like a thing he talked about with Susie for a couple of days and then he moved on. And I think that's why a lot of people were siding with Jeremy because he did move on with his Bailey thing. Like he was mad about the Andrew and Bailey date. He had to blow off some steam. The joke about the proposal, I do believe, was a joke with Susie, but he also did say that if it doesn't work out with Bailey, he is going to send Susie a DM. And Bailey, she took it pretty well at like when she talked to Jeremy about it. She was like, I'm gonna give some room, I'm gonna give some grace. It is paradise. Like this is what we're here for. So that makes sense because Jeremy wanted to date Susie. He wanted to see if there was a connection, and I wish Jeremy would just admit to it. Everybody was lying. Brian lied, Jeremy lied, and a few other people lied. Jeremy lied because he did want Susie to stay around. He assumed Susie was going to stay around because he was going to get a rose. She was going to get a rose from Jonathan or Justin. And I wish that Jeremy just like admitted that. Like it's okay to admit that you still wanted to explore your connection with Susie because Paradise is about exploring multiple connections. Now at this point, it's been so many days. You and Bailey have formed a strong foundation. Like I get it. You've probably moved on from Susie, but like you definitely could have been a little bit more honest, I feel, Jeremy. God forbid he was woken up in the middle of the night twice, which is like kind of unfair to him. Like the fact that this is happening at 2 a.m. is crazy. I think that Bailey should have went to the rendezvous. The rendezvous challenge, which I really liked, and it seemed like from what Bailey said that she got matched up with every guy. So everyone really had the chance to get out of their section. But Brian really wanted to talk to Bailey this episode, and he kind of hinted it to her at the rendezvous and was like, "Hey, like let's chat." And she turned it down, and then she got the note and she turned it down again. I wish that Bailey went. Now, obviously, like I understand why she didn't go. She didn't want to look sneaky, but it's a rendezvous. Like nobody would have known that you were going. It's supposed to be a secret. That's like how it was all framed. So I do wish that she went just to like see what he had to say, and then it would have been more discreet than like having it happen in that like section where everybody could see from a distance at the bar. And I also feel like I understand why Bailey didn't tell Parisa that Brian was the one to ask her to this rendezvous, because Parisa is obviously struggling and she's like, wait, what? Brian? And she's even confused. She's like, Brian likes Bailey. So I understand why Bailey was like, oh my gosh, like, I'm not going to say anything. I'm not telling anyone. And Parisa is so funny. I thought she was hilarious. And it's interesting to see Brian and Parisa kind of like unite as a team. Parisa was trying to help Brian do damage control, and it also seems like a lot of people didn't vote Brian out because of Parisa, because of the social game that Parisa has been playing, to the loyalty that a lot of the girls have to Parisa. They didn't want to vote out Brian because of Parisa. So Parisa and Brian talk about it, and Brian's like, listen, here's the deal. And I just like loved their interactions. I thought it was organic. And as far as Brian's decision to tell Bailey, I think it was the right thing to do because someone had to do it. At this point, the conversation should have happened episodes ago, and the fact that it's like now the last resort, and Brian, the most random guy on the show. I mean, I guess Brian did room with Jeremy. It felt like they were always in the room together when Jeremy made some of those Susie comments. And Jeremy did tell Brian about the Susie of it all. So Brian did have like firsthand knowledge. So maybe he's not like that random, but I just feel like Jeremy should have been more honest with Bailey. Her defense was, well, I didn't ask him about like I didn't tell him about the Andrew date. He didn't tell me about the Susie date. It's like their business. So I understand all sides here, and I understand what Jeremy's point was. Like the Susie thing was buried. Like he should have been more transparent for sure. He should have been more transparent a long time ago. I get that he moved on, but I do think that it had to come out, and Brian had to do it. I do believe producers probably encouraged him to do it. Brian is someone that went home really early on Jen's season. I don't know if he is a producer puppet, if he wanted camera time. He did have the firsthand information, which not everybody had. It seems like a few of the people who knew kind of heard more hearsay about it and weren't fully aware of the Jeremy phone call, where Brian did have firsthand information from Jeremy's mouth himself. I do think that Alex should have told Bailey. Like, Alex, aren't you close with Bailey? You guys do the intro together when they do like that fast motion intro moment. And I saw Andrew Spencer kind of going off on Twitter tonight saying, like, oh my gosh, like, why would we get involved? We don't know the context. I agree. I think from a bro's perspective, Brian lost so many points in bro code. I understand why Spencer and Andrew and a lot of the guys were like, bro, like, come on. Even Dale, I feel like he was being generous with Brian. He was like giving an opportunity to be honest. And like Brian should have just been real. He should have been transparent that maybe he did talk to Bailey. Once there got word of it, it's like, let's put all the speculation to bed. Let's own what we say, you know? Let's own our things. I understand that like Bailey did a good job covering for Brian too. But I feel like I understand why all the guys were mad at Brian, and I just think that Alex should have said something. I think Alex is closest to Bailey out of the girls who had the most information. Alex kind of said that she's close to Jeremy. She didn't want to step on any toes. Nobody wants to be the villain. But I also think that, like, this is a reality show. Girls got to be girls, girls. Girls have got to stick together. And I think it would have been respectful if you tell your girl what's going on. And it would have been less pressure for Brian, who was probably getting pressure from the producers to spill this tea for days because this storyline was so dragged out. It was literally dragged out like for episodes. So I definitely do have sympathy for Jeremy, in all his Instagram defense comments. Lea and Jonathan, let's talk about them for a second. They won the Rendezvous Challenge. And I'm glad that they made up because obviously they both hurt each other's feelings at the last rose ceremony. Lea expressed to Jonathan that she wants communication. You have an issue, you have something to say, don't tell other people, tell me. Lea expects loyalty from her partner, which is the bare minimum. And Jonathan, it kind of expressed that he didn't like, the way she said you're welcome, and that he also just kind of felt like, how did he feel? that like it's not set in stone. There's a gray area. He doesn't want to put expectations. But Leia said she was a little interested, but she also did clock that Jonathan is emotionally unavailable, which he is. Jonathan is not looking for a relationship here, and he's gonna go home probably. Once the Goldens go, Jonathan and Leia could potentially be on the chopping block, and it depends. I kind of think that the voting should stop soon. I think that Jesse Palmer has made it very clear that he wants the couples in the finals who are most romantically involved because obviously they want a proposal at the end. So I actually think that maybe moving forward, there could be a couple more vote offs, but then maybe contestants who like win the compatibility challenges stay in and the losers of the compatibility challenge go home. I don't know what they'll do each week, but next week it looks like there's two couples going home, which is kind of major. We know Kathy and Keith will for sure go home because they're on the chopping block. The Goldens are on the chopping block, and that was episode 7, so there's 3 episodes left. There are rumors that there might be a reunion show, so I think that will be interesting because then we'll get a lot more confrontations, more relationship updates, kind of get everyone in one room to break down the season. So I do hope that there is a reunion. There was also some drama this week between Kat, Allyshia, Sean, and Dale. Allyshia went on the Bachelor Happy Hour podcast and basically said that she wishes or that she wanted to be matched up with Dale. She feels like she had more in common with Dale than Kat did, and that, picking Sean was basically just like a way to stay in the house, and that she would have actually rather gone on a date with Dale, but Dale made it clear to her that they can still get to know each other if, she goes on a date with Sean. So he wasn't going to be butthurt about it. And Allyshia spoke her truth, and she said how she felt about the podcast, and Sean ended up unfollowing her. He kind of felt butthurt that he was a second choice. He deleted pictures of them from his Instagram. So at this point, it's my understanding that Allyshia and Sean have broken up. I don't know if they broke up on the finale or if they broke up in real life, but Allyshia and Sean are definitely broken up. And Kat, she was definitely annoyed about Alicia's comments because I do believe Kat is still with Dale, and that'll be probably tea by reunion if there's a reunion. I feel like Kat, she loves making good TV. And I really feel like there's going to be a lot more to come with this situation because Allyshia kind of threw some daggers at Kat in the trailer. And I did hear that Allyshia and Sean are basically going to confront Kat during the show. So we'll see this in the next couple of episodes about being like a clout chaser and being on the show for the wrong reasons. So there's a lot of drama to come between Allyshia, Kat, and Sean, and maybe even Dale. And I think that will also unravel on social media. I think both of them have a lot to say and are awaiting things to play out on the show. As far as Bailey, I do want to just say that it was devastating to see that all happen. I do think at the end of the day, Brian was a rat and a snake, but like someone had to tell Bailey the truth, and she deserves to know. And my heart broke for her. It was such an emotional scene. Justice for Bailey, justice for her. I mean, what an emotional episode for her. It was kind of riveting TV. It was also like crazy, all the telephone booth stuff. And then when Brian talked to Jeremy, Brian lied. He was like, "Well, Bailey asked me about Susie." Nope. You said Susie's name. You tried to talk to her. The producers also like probably encouraged Bailey to talk to Spencer and Jess so that they can corner her and then cue Brian in so that Brian would talk to Bailey because Bailey wasn't going to go to the rendezvous. So I do think that um, he lied. Brian lied to Jeremy. He didn't tell him the full truth. There's a lot of lying in this episode, and I think it's like on TV. So it's just like I like how Kat is, even though she's so like, kind of bitchy in her ways. Love you, Kat. But like I like how she's just like, let's be honest, own it. And like, let's be honest. Like I feel like a lot of people lied and like it's on TV, so everyone's gonna see who lied on the show. You know? Um so that was pretty much the episode, and Spencer and Jess are cute. Alex and Andrew, they're pretty solid. Parisa and Brian barely stayed in it. Dale and Kat are in it. And I mean, Allyshia and Sean are in it. So yeah, Faith and Kim went home, and I look forward to getting a relationship update soon. Make sure to give this video a thumbs up before you guys head out of here. It means a lot when you give it a thumb up. Can we get this video to 100 likes? And subscribe to my channel before you guys head out of here. And next week, guys, I'm going to the Love Thy Nader premiere party. So Brooke Snader from Dancing with the Stars, she has a new reality show coming out with her sisters called Love Thy Nader. It's going to be on Freeform August 26th, and it's going to be on Hulu August 27th. It's going to really center around this breakup between Brooks and Gleb from Dancing with the Stars. Brooke says that Gleb cheated. Gleb says that he didn't and that she's pretending he did to launch her new reality show. Gleb also responded to a comment, and there also has been some reportable sources saying that Gleb is not going to be asked back this season as a pro for Dancing with the Stars. And Gleb seems to blame this all on Brooks. And besides that, the show's about four sisters who are from Louisiana and are living a Hollywood lifestyle in New York City. And I'm so excited to go to the premiere next week and get all the tea. So stay tuned for that. And thank you all for tuning in another week to my Bachelor in Paradise recap show, episode 7. I decided to do this one at night, which is the first time I have all season. Usually I do it in the morning. So thank you guys for tuning in, and I will see you guys soon. And stay tuned for my interview with Madison from Perfect Match. If you guys are watching Perfect Match, I interviewed Madison today, and I'll be dropping that this week. I'll see you guys later. Bye.